The Nebraska Eviction Notice. What is an eviction notice? Eviction notice, or notice to quit, is a letter sent by the landlord to the tenant notifying them that they should either take or stop a certain action or vacate the rented premises. Eviction notice can be of two types: conditional, when a tenant is given time to remedy the breach of the lease, or unconditional, when a landlord terminates the lease without any alternative options for a tenant. What should an eviction notice include? Information about the tenant and the landlord. The reason for sending the notice. The date by which the tenant should take or stop a certain action. The consequences of non-compliance. The date and way of notice delivery and the landlord's signature in the form of certificate of service attached to the notice. How to evict a tenant in Nebraska. The non-payment notice. There is no statutory grace period for rent payment in the state of Nebraska. This enables the landlord to send the notice to the tenant the very next day after the rent is due, unless otherwise stated in the lease. The Nebraska law requires the landlord to give the tenant a 7-day notice to pay or quit before initiating the eviction proceeding. Non-compliance notice. If the tenant violates other terms of the lease, a 30-day notice needs to be sent to the tenant. That would give them 14 days to either correct the issue or quit. However, those tenants who are involved in illegal activity should get a 5-day notice of termination of the lease. What if the tenant fails to comply? If the tenant fails to comply with the rules of the lease, the landlord can file a complaint with a Nebraska district court. The filing fee is $83. Then, the summons and complaint are to be served on the tenant by an authorized person who is not a part of the case within 3 days after the summons issuance. The tenant's failure to appear for the hearing might result in a judgment in favor of the landlord by default. If the landlord wins the case, a writ of restitution will be issued. According to such an order, the tenant has to move out within 10 days after its issuance. If the tenant continues occupying the unit after the given period, they will be forcibly removed by a law enforcement officer.